What's up? Welcome in to Under the Hood with John the Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, youtube.com. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment on everything we do on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood, presented by Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. NHSchicago.org is where you go. It's 2026. It's time to get out of that stuffy apartment, that loft. It's time for you to plant roots with your own home. Learn about the home buying process by going to nhschicago.org for Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. Time to bring in Tyler Aki from our station at ESPN 1000 because we got to talk college basketball. Man, we're just in the thick of things. The calendar is flipped to February, Tyler, so now we're getting into the thick of things. We're going to get closer and closer to March Madness. I'm glad that you're with us here on Under the Hood.
Thanks so much for having me, Hoodie. Yeah, it was a great football-less weekend, and if you were just parachuting into the sport, you parachuted in at a beautiful time because we had great games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it was a good weekend of hoops.
Let's start with the Illini against Nebraska. Let's just start there. So impressed by Illinois going into the belly of the beast. We saw Fred Hoiberg actually have a hair out of place going after his team for a lack of effort defensively. But that really tells me that Illinois has an opportunity to do some damage in March Madness. You take on Nebraska, one of the best teams in college basketball, and beat them soundly on the road.
Yeah. For sure. And I think this Illinois team's kind of finding its footing at the right time, which is interesting, too, because they're doing it amid injuries as well. Haven't had Kylan Boswell for a little bit, but, I mean, Keegan Wagler, the way that he's stepped up, it is insane to see a guy who is a freshman, but he's not like this 5-star heralded guy coming in. He's a 3-star guy, but you're seeing the Brad Underwood development plan work. And I think part of it, too, is, remember, like, he's going up in practice against all of these guys who have played professional basketball. That's how he's spending his practices, especially at the beginning of the year where he wasn't going out and giving you 30-point games. It felt like every single night, but he kind of worked his way in, and I think you're starting to see it really pay off. This team's the number one offense in the nation from an efficiency standpoint. And when you've got that and you're a team that plays solid defense, I'm not going to go out and say there's some elite defense, but when you play solid defense, you've got a chance to find yourself into the Final Four. I think what we've learned the last couple of years is, sure, you're going to get the teams like Houston who are just defensive juggernauts that find their way into the Final Four, but you can be an Alabama and you can be a team like Florida too, where you've got an elite offense and your defense is still good, but it doesn't have to be an elite and it'll get you into the Final Four.
So you feel that they can go that far offensively. They have enough with the seven, sometimes 8 guys that they use that's good enough for them to be able to go really far in the tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to borrow an Izzo line here. Depth is overrated in games, underrated in practice. And I think it's something that once I heard that for the first time, I was like, yeah, it's probably true. Sure, it can come back to bite you in the ass when you've got injuries. But I think for the most part, when you're talking about games and having, like, Villanova was always running, those great Villanova teams, they were only running 6 or 7 guys out there.
Yeah.
And you can get away with limited depth in games as long as you've got guys that have the endurance to give you 40 minutes or somewhere in the neighborhood of like 36 to 38 minutes. You can survive the lack of depth. You find yourself in some sticky situations with foul trouble and stuff like that. But as long as you've got the health for those 5 games to get you into the Final Four, you're going to find yourself in a really good spot in March.
So when we take a look at Debansa against Peterson, College Game Day's there in Kansas. Let me just tell you something, Tyler. In the days of Dick Vitale and his prime, there's no way announcers are saying that Kansas is like the heaven in basketball. It'd always be Duke, it'd be North Carolina. It just shows you now that there's a new day, that you could be able to give Allen Fieldhouse his full due, but just the love that building got. And then, of course, that battle with all those scouts there to be able to see 2 top draft picks for sure. What did you think of Kansas against BYU, the game, and, of course, the star power in that game?
I got to say, that first half was one of the most dominant halves of basketball, let alone from a freshman, that I've seen with Darren Peterson. He had 18 points. I believe he had 3 threes. He had the dunk of the year. Everything he did was in control of that game. And then you find out in the second half that he has cramps and can't get back into the game. And it's just the whole Darren Peterson song and dance all over again. I love Darren Peterson. I think he is the best player in the sport, and it might be by a significant margin too, based off of what he proved going up against AJ DeBansa on Saturday at the Fog. But boy, I got to start seeing him play basketball. It's the whole Moneyball meme, Hoodie. Listen, Billy, we've got Darren. This is Darren Peterson. He's the best player in the sport and one of the best prospects we've seen in a long time. His defect is he doesn't play basketball. And it's starting to drive me insane because he is so good. And this isn't the first time we've seen this in a huge game. They played, I believe it was TCU, and he was out there. He was out there for the final possession. He got injured a little bit earlier in the game, came out for the final possession, drew a foul on a three, down three, hits all 3 free throws. They go to overtime. He doesn't see a second of play in overtime. Listen, he is special. He is clearly the number 1 overall pick, but at a certain point, I also need to see you play basketball. Like
that would help.
I need to see you play like the second halves and the second half of second halves. Like, it's just so frustrating to me with some of these injuries with him. But that doesn't take away from the special player that he is. He is clearly the number 1 overall pick. It does remind me a little bit of, I see some Derrick Rose in his game with just the physical nature that he gets to the basket with ease, the ability to finish through contact and all of that. But the added wrinkle is that he can shoot the ball. And that's something that Derrick was not. And again, it wasn't really part of the game when he came into the league in 08. There wasn't this huge emphasis of, oh, if you're a guard, you got to be able to shoot threes. And Peterson has that. He can shoot threes. He can shoot from pretty much any spot on the floor. He's as good of a 3-level scorer as we've seen coming into the draft. And I think Kansas is only going to be as good as Darren Peterson's going to allow them to be. And if Darren Peterson's not going to be out there in second half, we just saw BYU almost come back and win this game.
Yeah.
They pulled it, within 1 or 3, and this is a BYU team that is good, but they were also down 20-something, like at halftime, and should not have been allowed back into this game. And if Peterson's in this game, there's no chance in hell they're getting back into the game.
So looking at the game, I was hoping for a little bit of a better contest between Kansas and BYU. Can we get a redo to get a little closer game so it'll be a little bit more of a classic? I like that.
I think we do get let me pull up the schedule real quick. Do we get one more? For some reason, I thought we did. Maybe we don't. But you can always see it. You can always see it again in the Big 12 tournament.
That's true. That is absolutely true. I want to ask you about what happened with Alabama. You knew this was going to happen with Bediako. He goes to the foul line, and you have Florida students chanting G League dropout.
Yeah.
Right? G League dropout. I mean, listen, you and I know how ridiculous this is. Yeah. We understand the wild west of college athletics, college basketball. We both love college athletics. But the idea that this kid that was with the Austin team and I believe the Detroit G League team and now is back in college basketball, man, he deserves all of the slings and arrows. I know the door's wide open for him, but doesn't mean he needs to go through it. It's that was sad and also funny at the same time this weekend.
Absolutely. And then also the situation too with Amari Bailey, which is even more ridiculous than this, if you could even believe that's possible. A guy who's played in the NBA is trying to gain eligibility back into college basketball. And I don't get, this is my thing with what we're seeing now with Bediako, what we saw earlier in the year with James Najee, and now with Amari Bailey, is that they're taking all this stuff to the courts. And they're getting these temporary restraining orders that are going to give them 2 weeks to play basketball. And then ultimately, it's going to come down from the courts. Hey, you can't do this. I don't know why we have, like, the fact that we are taking this to the same courts as lawsuits that have, like, actual life implications and actual stakes and, like, there are real injustices being served out there. Yeah. And we're getting these temporary restraining orders and we're taking this to federal courts. Like, what are we doing? We just need to have, for an instance like this, we'll call it the sport courts, right? Where it's just unserious business that's being attended to, but it's something that, all right, we're going to expedite this. We're going to fast pass this stuff to the front of the line. And then we can figure our stuff out here at the sport courts. So we're not taking up time in Washington or in the higher state courts. We don't need to be doing this. It's so foolish. It's so dumb. The fact that there isn't some hard and fast rule that says, hey, if you played in the G League or if you got drafted in the NBA or if you've played in an NBA game before, it's a hard, fast stop. No, it's not happening. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the fact that it's even getting to this point is ridiculous. And the
They
fact that we
go to
continue to have the conversation is ridiculous.
Tyler. They go to court because it's a lottery ticket. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's take a look at this. You take it to court, you have to pay the, court fees and lawyers and
Yep.
everything else.
Lawyers. Yeah.
Are you sure that that's worth it at the end of the day? Like you go through the courts, you win, you get into a college basketball. You sure you got an NIL deal when you get there? You sure you got money? Like that's the question, like a real thing. Like, you sure you have $3 million waiting for you because you're an adult playing a college kids game? It's just a lottery ticket. It's a scratch off for these guys.
Yeah. But from the kids' standpoint, I get it. It's one worth taking. You're
Sure.
not getting minutes in the NBA, or you're not getting minutes on your European teams. Like, why not? Why not test it out? See if you can come back to college. And because maybe not in the case of James Najee, but in the case of Charles Bediako, he can come back into this league and dominate. Amari Bailey can come back into this league and dominate. More guys will come back and have success if they come back to college, even if it's on short notice like this. I also always wonder this too, from the team perspective. You're just going to throw a guy in mid-season. Now, in the case of Bediako, at least he was on the team last year, and you can maybe find a way to just kind of seamlessly acclimate yourself. But I don't know if this is the easiest thing in the world to do for the player and for the team as a whole. You obviously get better talent-wise, but I don't know if you get better as a team chemistry, all that stuff. You may be upsetting the apple cart a little bit with moves like this.
Let's put it this way. I called Anthony Bennett games, or at least I thought I was, in the G League when I worked with the Winnie City Bulls on the radio side for 4 years. And I, you know how we do. We get the board ready.
Yep.
And you see Anthony Bennett's on here. Okay, let's see what happens. He never got off the bench. And I thought, injury? Nope, just not off the bench. So I guess my point is, Tyler, if you can't play for your G League team and make, and pay dividends for your team there, if you can't go to Europe and make money and do anything, college is your fallback? Really? Like, you can't go anywhere in Europe to be able to make good coin and get playing time. That means you're not very good.
Well, the thing too is, college is the fallback. College is also probably the most lucrative of all of these. Like,
yes.
I mean, you know the G League salaries, man. That's not even pennies on the dollar there compared to those NBA contracts these days, even rookie contracts or minimum deals. And then in Europe, you're perpetually living on 1-year deals, which to a degree you're doing in college, but it's at least college has the national exposure, the launching pad to maybe get you to that next step. I don't know, man. I look at the fallback option, and yeah, you can probably go to college, and well, you're not going to make $2 or $3 million. You could probably make yourself 6 figures for being out there for a month or two. I don't know what the exact numbers are of these guys getting it, but listen, this isn't going to be the last time we hear about it. It's the sad reality of the sport, but this is probably only going to continue to happen.
Check out Chicago's College Tailgate on the ESPN Chicago app. And of course, you can download the podcast as well and also pick a side, all part of what we do here on ESPN Chicago with Tyler Aki on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Tyler, Arizona is blank.
Best team in college basketball. And they're doing it as such a balanced group. It reminds me of a very traditional college basketball team where you've got this just one of the better bigs you'll find in the sport. And then you've got the veteran guard. You've got a talented freshman. Like, they kind of have a mix of a little bit of it all. And I think this is a really big thing for Tommy Lloyd. And a lot of people, when you talk to people around Gonzaga, it was like, yeah, Mark Few was the face, but Tommy Lloyd was the engine that made those Gonzaga teams go. And now you're seeing Tommy Lloyd get the opportunity to run his own program, and he's got himself the #1 team in the country right now. They're as balanced as they come in college basketball. They've got the depth if they do need it. They've got talent across the board in that starting five. I love this Arizona team. I heard Charles Barkley, who the other day, I don't know if you heard this, he was talking about how much more college basketball he's watching. Might be a little bit of a state of the league right there. But he's telling you about that, and he says it's the Arizona Invitational. And to be honest, I don't know if you can really disagree with them. Sure, there's other really good teams out there, but this is a team that's top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, one of 2 remaining undefeated teams. They play in the Big 12. They're going to go through the Big 12 gauntlet. They're going to lose a game at some point in the next probably 2.5 weeks, because I mean, this stretch that they've got coming up, they're home against Oklahoma State, but then you've got at Kansas on a big Monday, by the way. That's a really tough spot. And then home against Texas Tech, and then at BYU, or home against BYU rather, and then at Houston. That is a gauntlet of a 5-game stretch. You might see them lose 2 or 3, but that would not change my feelings at all about what this Arizona team is. They have done it time and time again throughout the year. They began the season neutral game win against Florida. They went on the road, beat UConn. They've played Auburn and they've played Bama. Like, they've really challenged themselves, but now they're going to get into the meat of what the Big 12 is. And the Big 12, for my money, has been the best conference, or the best conference in the entire sport this year. Close second place to the Big 10, but this Big 12 is as good as it has been and it's a really good league year to year. But this league, when you've got teams like Kansas and Texas Tech, albeit Texas Tech lost over the weekend, but even like the team they lost to, UCF, don't sleep on UCF. They've got wins against Texas Tech and Kansas this year. So it's just a really good, like, 10-strong league pretty much this season. And I mean, this Arizona team's the best of the bunch.
Tyler, what's that team off the radar that you've been watching but no one else has?
I'm going to fall back on a couple of teams that I gave you earlier on this year, and it really is Vanderbilt. And they've stumbled a little bit as of late.
You did say Vanderbilt,
And Vanderbilt's been like, they've had a couple of losses. They went through a little bit of a rough patch, but they're an offense that's going to pour it in with the best of them and have a defense that, like, they remind me a lot of what Alabama's been the last couple of years, where the offense is as good as you'll find in the country, but you've got a defense that just has to kind of hold things together, and you're going to win a lot of games 100-90 is basically the shortcut answer that I'll give you there. And then the other one, they lost over the weekend. It was a great game. But I still really believe in this UCLA team. I really do. They had the win against Purdue a little bit ago. And even though they lost to Indiana in double overtime, I'm looking ahead at this UCLA team. They've got a chance to pick up some good victories. They do have the Michigan swing, where they'll come out east. They'll face Michigan and Michigan State. You'll hear Mick Cronin complain about the fact that he has to go out east. But for the majority of the rest of their slate, they really just are sticking on the West Coast. You get a couple of teams to come out west, and then you play your teams, your old Pac-12 buddies in Oregon and Washington, and USC, obviously. So I think that this team still has the chops to make a run in the tournament. I think they've got the experience. I think they've got some really a good big in Tyler Bilodeau, a veteran All-American caliber guard, Donovan Dent. I just like the pieces that this UCLA team has right now. So I'm still very bullish on this UCLA team.
I don't know if it's my algorithm, but I keep getting Mick Cronin sound bites from press conferences through my TikTok all the time.
Yeah.
Is this him being, and I guess we chalk this up as he's trying to take pressure off of his players, because Mick can be rough with the media. Always bitching, as you mentioned, about the travel. Yeah. It's like, if we're already playing at Michigan, why do we have to go back to LA to play Rutgers the next week? Why don't we just keep going east? I get that, but he can be really, really rough on the media.
It's the fun game of, did this clip happen last week, last year, or 3 years ago?
I know. He's just so brash with the media. It's quite interesting. Miami of Ohio at large bid.
I mean, the way they're playing right now, you can't take it away from them. They're a top 25 team. I get that their net and KenPom, the metrics aren't there, but they're never going to be there for a mid-major team unless you're like a Gonzaga who's got some staying power. But I'm definitely impressed. Still undefeated. They've had some really close calls. I got to say, some of the most entertaining games that you'll find in the sport this season have been the last 2 minutes of a Miami, Ohio game. They've had some close calls, but I think there's something to be said about being battle tested. And if for some reason they go undefeated the rest of the way and then end up losing in the MAC title game, they're going to be in. I think even if they come up short in like the semifinals of the MAC, they'll still probably get in. If the body of work is not impressive in terms of the caliber of opponent, and you're not going to get tested in the MAC, but undefeated's undefeated. And there is still something to be said of surviving that, going on the road to these different places. They've got a good team, fun offense. I think Travis Steele, this is his launching pad. He's going to find himself a nice power 4 job out of this too. I like what they've been this year. They're a good offense, and I know Wally Serviak is smiling ear to ear on that CBS set on those Saturday afternoons.
He is. He is. I failed to ask you about the hierarchy of the Big Ten. I know you have it in front of you.
Yeah.
Today, Tyler, on your list, how many is in from the Big Ten that you see?
So if we're just going to go through the teams here, Michigan, Illinois, Michigan State, Nebraska, Purdue. I actually really like what Wisconsin's kind of done this year too. Throw them in there. UCLA, I think, is in. Iowa, I think, finds their way in. And then I think this is where we start to, it's the not necessarily work left to do. If it's more of if the season ended today, you're in, but I wouldn't like put your spot in ink or put your spot in Sharpie, as Seth Davis would like to say. But okay, Indiana has a case to be in. Ohio State has a case to be in. And then that's probably it for what I've got right now. Maybe it might be a few more than 7. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 10. That's 10 right there. And then but there could be a shuffle. Like USC could find themselves in, Indiana could find themselves out. But I mean, you're looking at some of the other teams in the conference here. Like Washington right now is 12-10 overall, 4-7 in the conference. Going to be really tough for a team like Washington to find their way in unless you do a little damage in the Big Ten tournament. But yeah, I mean, the bottom of this league is bad. And that's what you get when you've got expansion the way that you do. Like Maryland, boy, that team is atrocious, and they got pumped yesterday too. But yeah, Maryland has no chance. Rutgers has no chance. Oregon, no, they've been a monster disappointment. Penn State, no, and then Northwestern's not going to get in. Minnesota, I like what Minnesota's building, but they're not going to get in. So it's just going to kind of be like, can USC and Ohio State and Indiana, what do they have to say about this at the end of the day?
A little love for the UIC Flames.
How about it?
It's the hottest team in Chicago.
So, okay, where are they right now in terms of the standings? Because I remember seeing the conference record the day, and by the way, fabulous job on the call the other day. I heard, was it a go-ahead bucket late against Indiana State?
Yeah, stealing in a bucket from Elijah Crawford. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, that team, they've got the chops. You tell me. I mean, you're around them every single day. Are they? What are the chances you think of them making a little bit of a run in their conference tournament?
I think. Well, here's the difference. I think from last year to this year, I think that the Flames peaked too early last year.
Okay,
threes were falling. Records were broken last year. This year, off to a slow start, but now winning 8 in a row, beat Sylvie Salukis on Saturday. I think that they can go on a run here. I think I'm going to pack at least 3 outfits to Arch Madness in St. Louis. I think I can pack at least 3. And here's why. It's because Elijah Crawford was hurt, the guard for UIC. He was not well for the first couple of months, and now he's a catalyst for the team.
Yeah.
They've got good shooting. And Tyler, here's what the portal does. In year 1 of Rob Eson, everybody can shoot the 3. Everybody, right? And that's why it was a really good season, right? Because we hadn't seen offense like that at UIC.
Yeah.
So now portal gets you lose players, and all of a sudden now we got players backing guys into the lane.
Yeah.
We got 1990 basketball happening with some of the guys.
Yeah.
Still a good shooting profile from the outside, but a lot of the action is on the inside, drawing fouls and marching to the foul line. So they're beating teams clearly on rebounds and second chance, but also what the Flames are doing is, hey man, take the best shot. Don't take just a shot. Just take the best shot, because when you're shooting 31% from 3, that means you got to get your stuff in the interior. So where they are right now, big spot against Murray State, the top of the conference tomorrow on Tuesday, and then playing Belmont out of Nashville coming into Chicago on Friday. That's an ESPNU game, by the way, in Chicago.
Love it.
So you want to know how good the Flames are? We're on ESPNU.
You got the U on a Friday. Love it.
An 8 o'clocker on a Friday night in Chicago. So they're looking to pack the house there to be able to see. So they're in the top 4 of the division of the conference. So, again, it's rough and tumble, Tyler.
Well, I'm looking right now too. So All right, this 4-game stretch is a hell of a gauntlet for you guys. So Murray State, like you mentioned, then Belmont, then you get Drake on the road though, and then Illinois State comes back for the rematch here. And then the rest of the way, you should be in a pretty good spot. Like you get Evansville on the road, you should handle business there. You should win your last 4 games heading into Arch Madness. But the game against Murray State, I mean, 2 teams that are 8-4 right now in the conference, that could really shift things, and then all of a sudden you've got an inside track and maybe the 2 seed in Arch Madness.
Yes, that means the earlier game, not the 8:30.
Yeah,
late at night. The last one where everyone's left at the Enterprise Center. So I think they're peaking at the right time in February versus kind of losing it down the stretch and into Arch Madness for the UIC Flames. I'm happy for Rob East on the program, because when you have to change 10, 11 players, and then you have a whole different offensive system that you got to put in based on your personnel. Sam Silverstein out of Glencoe. You got guys like that that's in the team. You got to change things. So he sounds putting his major that he got from UC Davis to work. Working on NIL and everything, and the portal. So
love it. I mean, listen, it's a good story. It's good to have, and I always love seeing these mid-major teams, because once you get to these conference tournaments, man, you know it as well as anyone, anything can happen. You get one. Belmont doesn't show up in a game against Northern Iowa where Northern Iowa shoots the lights out or something like that, which they haven't been doing all season long, and then all of a sudden you've got yourself a better path to finding yourself into the dance, and then who knows? Then Hoodie, this is the best part of it. Then all right, because then you start looking at, all right, are they sending me to Salt Lake City? Are we going to Sacramento? Are we going to Boise? Where are we going? Where are we going for the round of 64?
And can I get off?
Yeah,
is it all right for me to not host that day on ESPN Chicago? What do you mean? And you get the swiveling head of Danny saying, "What do you mean?"
Yeah,
and I'm saying, "We're in the dance, sir. I need to be there."
Or you find yourself a studio in Sacramento and you're knocking on the door at 3 a.m. hoping there's a morning show to let you in.
Been there. Been there many times with the UIC Flames, but it's just so much fun college basketball, especially here in the month of February, because we're on the precipice of some league tournaments and, of course, March Madness. So please tell everybody about the podcast, sir.
Yeah, so Shay and I will be doing a lot more college basketball now that football is mostly in the rearview mirror. Just 1 game left to go. We did a little bit on Saturday's show too, and we did the full parachuters guide into the sport. And one other thing, I want to bring up that Michigan State game too.
Yeah,
the result is what the result is, and I don't even know. Like, you know how sometimes people say final score doesn't indicate how close the game was. I don't even know if that's necessarily true in this game, because Michigan was whooping that ass in the first half, and then all of a sudden Michigan State came back, took a lead in the second half, and then Michigan pulls away, gets a big win on the road. That's one of the more impressive wins that we've seen in the sport. It was so good. Ken Pom bumped him up to number 1 again. But I look at what that game indicates to me is just how good the conference is. That was a hell of a game. And the final score is what the final score is, but I don't think it takes away from what that is. I love this Big Ten. I look at a lot of these conferences where the Big Ten is super strong once again, and I think there's Big Ten staying power. Like, in the past, we've seen the Big Ten get in with like 11, 12 bids, and we're like, oh, this is the best conference in the sport, no doubt. They've got 1 seeds and all, but you always could kind of tell, like, all right, these teams aren't for long. These teams might make it through a first weekend, but that's about it. None of these teams are going to the Final Four. I don't think that's the case this year. I think there's like 3 or 4 teams out of the Big Ten that could make it to the Final Four. I think the ACC is really good. This is the best the ACC's been since like 2019, probably. I really like what I see out of the ACC right now. Louisville picked up a nice win. That's another team if you want. Not a lot of people have been watching Louisville. It's kind of the same thing as Kansas. When they've got their talented freshman guard, Michael Brown Jr., they're awesome. When they don't, then I don't know if they could beat a mid-major. Like, that's just the type of team that Louisville's been this year. So the health of the sport's as good as it's ever been. The only conference that's not pulling their weight is the Big East right now. But that's also a smaller conference too, and they still have UConn. So
yeah,
how is it any different from like the WCC, where you've got Gonzaga pulling their weight and then everyone else is kind of a straggler? So it's been a hell of a year so far, and I'm looking forward to it because I think the other part of it too is we've seen a lot of comebacks this year, and they don't always result in wins. But how many times have we flipped on games where in college it usually felt like, oh, if you're up 12, 14 points, probably over, just because you don't have the same type of 3-point shooting that you get in the NBA or just offensive firepower and like quick spark offense like the NBA. But this year in college, for whatever reason, I feel like, and I don't have any numbers to back this up, but what my eyes tell me, we're seeing more 10-plus point comebacks than ever before, where you're at least finding yourself within 2 or you're taking the lead. It doesn't always mean you win the game. Michigan State's a perfect example of that the other day. BYU is another example of that when they played Arizona earlier in the week. But we're seeing all of these big-time comebacks, and it's just making for really, really good games.
A lot of breakdowns defensively, or we give up a 3. That's right. That's okay. We'll get it back, and you don't get it back.
Yeah.
There's this trade-off of offense and defense. It's just strange. I see it all the time in college basketball. It's like you get broken down defensively, you give up a 3. On the other end, you miss. Come back, hit another 3. It's all right. We're still up 3. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. No, not okay. It's good. We're up 4. Another 3, or get to the foul line. 2 plus the extra, and then now it's a 1-point deficit. It's just some guys play the math game, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they play scoreboard like, oh, we're good.
Yeah.
We're just down 6 now. No, that's not how you play it, man.
Well, and I think that's part of a byproduct of the portal too, and maybe not even the portal, but NIL is keeping guys in college longer. Where you do have these guys, they're gonna make those uncontested 3s now. They're smart. They get to the basket and can draw the contact and finish through the contact now. I think that's where you're seeing the disparity of you having these guys who are 21, 22, 23 years old, or sometimes even older than that, go out there and they're just playing a man's game sometimes. And I think it's made for a really entertaining season. And I know we bitch and complain about NIL and the portal and everything. And I think it's a lot more of a dark cloud on college football than it is on the college basketball, because I think it's actually been one of the best things to happen to college basketball, aside from like the Bediako stuff.
No, exactly. You mentioned Michigan State. Just lastly, Steve Smith went to Michigan State, didn't he? Believe he did.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Can I just tell you, a little bit too much Steve Smith on my TV. as we do our college basketball TV breakdown.
Yeah.
It's a little too much. Why am I running into him every game, every night?
The NBA TV special,
brother. There's a reason why he was in the studio.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, man. It was a studio voice, right?
Yeah.
And I text Stephen Bardo and say, "F you, Bardo. That's your spot, and you're not doing games anymore." So no, Steve Smith's doing these games. I'm like, dude, I don't need a whisper of college basketball. I don't. Like, he's cool, but it's just like every night I'm seeing Steve Smith every night.
Yeah.
Like, I can do better than that.
Yeah. I mean, I love Bardo. You get some of these other guys. There's a lot of really good up and coming like voices, I think, in the sport. One of my favorites, Robbie Hummel, I think, is my favorite analyst in the entire game. He's as good as it comes, regardless of sport. Seriously, like, and he could do it. Like, you could probably throw him out there. He could call a football game. Like, that's how good he is. And like all these guys that now are. I mean, there's so many games. I mean, how many games are you getting on TV now on a Saturday, right? Like, remember the old days, Hoodie, where you got a handful of games? It was like ESPN, ESPN2, maybe you got a Fox. This was like before even FS1. And now what game isn't on TV, right? It's incredible.
It's insane. It's just, I felt like Steve Smith was doing a doubleheader one Saturday. I'm like, what are you on here again? I felt like he was doing twice. Last one is a underrated. I think Corey Alexander.
Yeah.
I think is underrated to me.
Yeah, he's been doing some NBA stuff too, but he does I remember because we used to get a lot of Corey Alexander because he used to be like the #1 guy for ACC Network, and now he's been doing a lot more like ESPN2, and now he's getting a lot more ESPN. He's fantastic.
Yeah, does a really good job. So I just wanted to have you on. I know you think I wasn't going to talk to you until March, but there's just too much good stuff going on. Too much stuff going on, Tyler. So I'll talk to you again soon because there's still a lot of great matchups as we get closer and closer to March Madness.
Oh, this upcoming Saturday, by the way, one of the best slates of the year. one of the best slates of the year here. Let me just pull it up. Real
Lay it
quick.
out. Please lay it out for us.
All right. So you got Duke and Carolina, which, I mean,
always
enough said. You got Illinois and Michigan State. Houston and BYU is your nightcap. That's a great nightcap.
Mm-hmm.
Bama, Auburn. What else we got here? Yeah, that's those are the big ones for that slate. But yeah, it's a hell of a Saturday this week in college basketball.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, call you Monday.
Sounds good.
I'll call you Monday.
I'll be
breakdown.
I'll be here.
Right there in his booth. He's gonna be waiting there for me for another call. Tyler, thank you, sir.
Anytime, Hoodie. Anytime.
I hope that you enjoyed our conversation with Tyler Aki from our station here at ESPN 1000. Always great to talk college basketball with him. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe and comment to everything we do on YouTube and also our podcast as well. Thank you so much for subscribing. See, we talk everything right here on Under the Hood with John the Hood, presented by Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. NHSchicago.org is where you go. Keep it locked, because this week we talk a lot about the Super Bowl, prop bets, and who's going to win, who's going to lose, and also a look into the Bears offseason and so much more. Even the NBA trade deadline is right around the corner. We're going to find out what the Bulls won't do at the deadline. It won't be Giannis, or will it? Find out on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for checking us out. So long, everybody, from Chicago.